Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. So yet again I'm gonna go on another chapter recap. This time it's from 11 to 20. As I said, these are broad spectrum. I'm trying to keep it as limited as possible so that there's no giving away the full story. I'm not actually reading the phrases and paragraphs, so it isn't an audiobook style podcast. It's actually just a little bit of an iteration of what you are seeing in the story. So let's kick off from chapter 11 and continue. So the whole idea behind this is if you have watched the anime and you come through to try and get a little bit of a catch up on things that are missing from the story itself, because I suspect that season 2 is going to have a ton missed, you're going to need to follow these. Just take a little bit of the notes. You'll find out that the Muriels had some understanding, some pieces of knowledge, heed on the fact that Rachel was there all along, how it really played out. You might even find a little bit about Ghost and things like that there as we go along. So let's go into it. So when you start off chapter 11, you start off back with Leroro telling the regular that there is no limit to Shinsu, and that what he's doing is merely some kind of mercy, right? And as he's saying, when one faces infinite possibilities and discovers their own limits, they fall into despair. That's something that Leroro says to this regular. Now, this regular isn't the same one from the anime, just for by the way, they're two different regulars. But the reason why this is so important is this was actually meant to discourage those who are already at their limits, who can't see themselves going any further without pushing even greater. And as he explains, this is a mercy that he's showing them. Because if you can't go through this, the pain of Shinsu just gets worse as you go up. And as he explains, Leroro further explains, the Shinsu that he let this guy taste is routine on the 30th floor upwards. So in other words, once you reach the 30th floor of the tower, the Shinsu level is so horribly high that it just will drive you into despair if you haven't got the natural ability to fight against it. And this is like, a taste of the tower. We know there's over 130 floors, 129, I'm not sure. There's a lot of floors going up all the way to Jahad's throne. I can't remember if it's 134 or 135 floors that we know about. But nonetheless, what he's saying is this is just 30 out of 135. And it only gets worse as you go up, because once you reach the top, this flow of power gets even more dense and more heavy. And I'm a ranker, so I've already touched the top. I've seen where this power goes. And he still hasn't explained just how crazy power gets when it comes to the other individuals. Okay. So he explains that this is the reason why those who cannot pass the wall cannot climb. This is what inspires the others to start pushing. And Bam asked if he deserves to go up the tower, and Leroro says there is a point that you will reach if you are not meant to, where you will stop. And yeah, as we can see, everybody starts moving through. Barian Dina, that is the bag that Kun has with him, gets jammed in the water. Now, nobody understands why, but obviously we find out later that he had regulars inside the bag, people who he was going to team up with. And when he finally pulls them through, he realizes that one of them wasn't very well adapted to the wall. And when he pulled it through like that, they managed to get through. So he helped them pass this filter. And Leroro gives a recommendation to Bam, and it's a really carefully said recommendation. Don't befriend Kun Aguero Agnes. He comes from a dangerous family. Now, we will find out later about that, and after that there we get Shibisu and Serena passing through the Shinsu wall covered in blood. Okay, so let's continue on. The next thing which happens is they introduce the next test, the test of the clock room. And this is quite the complex situation, because Bam reveals that he's never seen the sky before, and when he sees the simulated sky, it's such a shock to him. And then they hear a scream, and then they hear next team please. They hear the word super dangerous, and they see that 9 minutes 20 seconds. So we get a little bit of the hint of what's going on over here. And every time they hear the scream, they don't know whether it represents a team failing or a team passing. So either way, they don't know what's going on. And after that, there, Mr. Neon Plastic Bag comes and speaks to them. And Kun treats him with the same type of negative sense that you see in the comic. The only difference is he doesn't physically assault him, and he just passes on the clues for the test. Now we find out later that he is hired by Han Sang-yu to do this here, and he gives them the hints, and then he tells Bam not to thank him. He's just testing his hypothesis with them. And basically they highlight the three things that they notice. Any team who cleared who didn't scream did it in less than 5 minutes. So they know that they completed whatever was in that room before 5 minutes was up. Any team who was later, you'd hear a scream, and you can't hear anything from the room. That means they want you to hear them screaming. So this is some type of clue. You have to deliberate on the clue. So that's basically what they were explaining. And obviously, if they're getting out at 5 minutes and you hear absolutely nothing, that means they didn't go through something horrible. And next, after this year, Bam and them get into the room. The room, as we know, has a single clock, multiple doors, and Han Sang-yu. Han Sang-yu explains his test, and that is the end of 11. Actually, I don't think he completely explained the test. I think he just introduced himself as the administrator of the test. Next, we get to see a little bit of Kun's past, and we see why he's so mistrusting of people. He did something really terrible in the past, and now he's trying to overcome the weaknesses that he had. And we hear all the story about him and Maria. Now, this might become important later down the line. We don't know, it might be. But from what we hear over here, it's a possibility that Kun and Maria were intimate with each other, although they are blood siblings. They have the same father. They are blood siblings. So this is some hectic stuff being spoken of over here. And we know that this is one of the reasons to what happened. We find out a little bit more about his family later down the line. We know that Kun had a heavy type of personality with manipulation and strategy, and that's the way that he was raised. So Han Sang-yu explains the test to them. He tells them to open the right door. If you open the wrong door, you all will die in a horrible way. So then they find out that the screams they heard outside were people dying. Now, once he says this here, it's over. All the clues are given. So the scream represents death. So if you're going to do anything, you must do it in under 5 minutes. Otherwise, you are dead. They know that 5 minutes is the cutoff time. That's the limit that anybody has gone through. And as he said, that is the stuff. There are no more hints. So since it says there are no more hints, obviously by deduction, which we'll find out later, it means that everything has been given to them. The timer which they are being shown inside the room is a clock, right? The next thing which they're also getting is the fact that the timer of the others going through the room is shown to everybody. So anybody above 5 minutes failed, anybody below 5 minutes passes. So they know there's something to do with finishing it in half the allotted time. The next thing which they are given is the clue from Han Sang-yu saying there are no further clues. Now I know that I've been breaking it down really heavily on this part. That's because most of the crazy stuff comes next. Time starts to click away. Raak starts going crazy because he can't stand being patient. We see Han Sang-yu in his classic coffee addict crazy way. And the clock keeps going. And the clue keeps playing through Kun's head. But because of the clue, he can't do it. He can't open the door because someone else gave him the clue. His distrustful nature is going crazy. And finally, Rak goes crazy and just bangs open a door before the time was over. So he said that there were no further clues on which door to open, so you just have to guess. And they managed to pass it with 1 second to spare. So they perfectly hit the hypothesis for Neon Plastic Bag if he were a regular. And they basically helped guess it. And the next chapter 13, starts with Kun and Rak fighting. Why did you guess? And basically, there could have been a hint, so you could have basically, they're fighting with each other. And then Han Sang-yu claps his hands and he basically says, "Congratulations, you passed." And he passes the sly comment, that Han Sang-yu says they gave him the clues, it's just that he didn't trust them. And he continues on, and he passes the sly remark on Kun's bag, obviously. And he also explains why he needs a team who won't hesitate to open doors for him. Right, so all of that being spoken of, we see Rak goes crazy. He says he's the leader. He's going to lead these three because they need him so badly. And we see the rest of the regulars go through. Some people get through on pure blind luck, like the Ho 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 guy who believes in his Ho 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 god. Serena shows that if you aggravate a person, they can do some really crazy things when she takes Laurie's pillow and blanket away and threatens to cut it up. And he instantly opens a door out of frustration. Then we get Anak, Hats, and Shibisu. And Shibisu exhibits the perfect character. He heard the clues, he didn't take them to heart. He knew that there were a possibility that they were true. He looked at everything that everybody else went through, he deducted it, and he came out to the answer. He completed the test perfectly. After that day, we get Hansang speaking to his guys, and he explains why he had them give the clue, because the clues were obvious to everybody who was out there. Anybody could guess it if they paid enough attention. So he explained to them it's like medicine. You can offer a person medicine and it could be poison, because if it's unknown, that is the catch to it. Something which you do not know 100% could be poison, and by taking poison you could die, or if you take it, it can help you. And sometimes if you do not take the medicine, it can poison you. So he's explaining the whole situation around it. So just by being overcautious, sometimes you can hurt yourself. It's one of the lessons that he's teaching the regulars in this little test. The next thing we get is Ghost, Rachel, and Enderosi passing their test. Now there was a special test. Basically, they murdered everybody on their field to just leave 3 people. Okay, so we into chapter 14. We get it with what's this fiery, crazy Quattro Blitz is the other one. This is Quant Blitz. Quant Blitz is now the person who Han Sang-yu is talking to. He explains that there were 3 individuals, and he explains that he didn't check who were in the test. So, was there any regular? Yes. Was there a Princess of Jahad? Yes. And he didn't think of looking at whether that was the situation. So he administered a test to just get it done with as quickly as possible. And now he's in real big trouble, and basically they start having some comedy over here where he basically says you should try and get a slot on Ghostbusters. I think that would be the better idea. Then we get Han Sang-yu completing his diabolical plan, where he plans to have Lero take care of the problem by organizing the tests for getting those regulars to stop climbing. Now, in reality, all that we do need to know is he did this here because he already spoke to Rachel. His plan was to get Rachel to bomb so that she can complete her task of trying to kill him, which he suspected she would never be able to do. And if she did, then she was definitely the chosen one from the prophecy. So Liroro explains that there's a bonus game and it will instantly pass you to get to the next floor. And everybody is so confused about it. At first, they didn't want to take part in any extra tests, but they explain that it will instantly pass you to the next level. So they go for it because getting past without having to have to go through any more grading means a lot, because you instantly pass through. You can take the rest of the lessons on this floor and you can go on. And then the first round begins with, as we know, Anak, Shibisu, Hats going out in the first round, and the Ho-Ho team coming out on the other side. That ends up becoming a quick fight in the next episode, which is why I didn't really speak too much about it. Now, Anak has a major advantage. We get to see it in the crown game, so we'll go for it. And they go for it and they start playing the game. Now, not many people know that she's Anak Jahad. If they heard the name Jahad, most of these guys would cower and stick in their room. So they go and they fight, and she says, everybody can stand back, I'll take the entire team. One of their teammates basically confronts to say that he'll take Anak on one-on-one, and he just gets hit away instantly. Then the team starts attacking all at once. Everybody attacks, and nobody can even hurt her, and they just get flung around like a bunch of kids. And finally, she beats them all when they go to grab the crown, and she simply jumps on, hits them all away, and puts the crown on herself. Now, this actually messes up the plan, because if someone is strong, they shouldn't be sitting on the throne. They should be standing on the ground to fight, because that is the best place for them. Shibisu was the best choice for sitting on the throne, and basically he says that and they get the message from Liroro that you can't. So Shibisu tries to get Anak out of the chair. She refuses, and then Liroro intervenes to say that it was the rules, that you cannot leave the chair, and that's it. So Anak, Shibisu, Hats now have the chair, and they continue. Now this is the next chapter, by the way. They're continuing with the game. The next team is ready to come out. Kun explains why this is a good thing, because she's very powerful and she's immobilized, so she can't really attack everything. And Shibisu gets a compliment that he can defend it with his deadly martial arts, and he's so shocked that Hats has faith in him, because Hats seems like he doesn't trust him at all. At this point, other teams join in, since Kun doesn't want to get in too early. He has a free pass on one of the rounds, as he knows. And we get Lauri, Serena, and Ho coming out. I can't believe I forgot his name. And on the other side, we get the team with Death Fist guy. Now, one thing to note about Mr. Death Fist is Dead Fist, King Fire Scorch King's Death Fist, belongs to Yurik freaking Mazino, man. So yeah, belongs to this crazy guy, and that is one of the things that you just have to say spectacular about this. It is a high level technique. So that is one thing I know I haven't changed much. So yeah, here we go, Woolha Yuksong's entrance basically. And the fact that he's using a Woolha Yuksong method means that things are crazy. The fight continues. On the one side, Hats fights 3 opponents, and Shibisu fights the other 3 opponents, holding them in place. And finally, oh wait, I got the correct name here. My first Supreme King's Scorching Fist of Death. So I did make a mistake in the name, a small mistake. So anyway, this continues on, and the fight continues with Shibisu fighting Ho and Serena. Lauri seems to be asleep. And finally, he starts hitting them, and he starts to taunt them. He wants to get them in, but none of them are pulling in. And all of a sudden, they manage to pull off a heavy move on him where they pin him, and Hats is forced to intervene. At this point, the whole ring is opened up, and we just see Lauri wake up, and he releases a Shinsu Blast. Okay, that goes on into chapter 17. I'm getting ahead of myself. But anyway, the next chapter starts with Lauri releasing his Shinsu Beam as he is being attacked by Hats. At this point, his Shinsu attack smashes into the ring, which disturbs Anak. And Anak goes a little bit crazy because he disturbed her, because the trap wasn't meant for her, it was meant for and Dorosi, who is also in the crowd. Everybody attacks, and Anak is really powerful. She doesn't even have to leave the throne, and when she gets hit with Shinsu, she gets really agitated. So finally, she ignites the Green April. Now, as I said, the Green April is a really deadly weapon. Igniting it takes it from its C or B class item rating all the way to an S class item. They're one of the 13-month weapons. They're really powerful. And this is a hook. So all of a sudden, it turns into this massive green thing that can just reach around the entire ring. And at the same time, Black March goes crazy because there's another ignited 13-month close to it. So Black March starts going crazy, and all of a sudden, Laurate starts attacking, and he's trying to get around Anak's assault, and he gives off that sly comment that he can attack Bam anywhere in the ring. And Anak's remark to it is, well, then I can attack the entire ring all at once. And she shows just how crazy it can go. At which point she noticed the Black March. Serena grabs Laure and gets out of the center. At this point, they all retreated. The Black March was going totally crazy, and then it stops as the ignition stops. And Anak jumps off the seat to break into the room where Kun, Rak, and Bam are. And she says, give me that weapon to Bam, ending chapter 18. Now, obviously, I am a little bit behind, but there's a lot to talk about, and I need to break through these next two chapters. This is where it gets heavy like the start once again. At this point, there's a confrontation in the room, and you have to understand that this is crazy important. There are things that we don't know that make this here kind of stupendous to think about. Anak thought that she's fighting a regular who is just a regular, but she is fighting an irregular. Had she actually attacked Bam and Bam ignited the Black March, I have a suspicion that Anak would have died. So if she had gone too far, if she had poked the sleeping beast in that room, if she had incapacitated him in any way or forced him to not be able to reunite with Rachel, he would have killed her. Right? And I don't think it would have been a willing operation. I think it would be his body instinctively reacting. And had she attacked him and actually managed to land any physical blows on him, he would have retaliated with the exact same assault on her within a matter of seconds. Remember, any attacks that Bam takes in, he can reproduce. And then she explains that she's a daughter of Jahad, and she says that's one of the 13-month series. It's not a stupid weapon to Shibisu. He gets his finger squashed by her, and they say the Black March. Then they both say the weapon created by Ashil Adwado, only meant to be handled by a princess of Jahad. So how do you know? Because she has a 13-month weapon in her hand, which is Green April, and as they said, it's only meant to be held by a daughter of Jahad. And she says she is a daughter of Jahad. Now, this here takes Bam back to a very special memory instantly of the first person he meets when he enters the tower after Hiron, that is Yuri-ha Jahad. And he's thinking that she is a part of that crazy people, and he says, I can't give it back to you, I promise to give it back to Yuri. And then Anak makes a statement, my mom said that children who don't know their place die young. And as she's about to hit him, Lero Ro intervenes and grabs the Green April. Now, here's something to note. No matter how powerful Anak is, she's no match for Arenka. The only person in this room who could possibly kill Arenka isn't Kun, isn't Anak, isn't Rak, isn't Shibisu or Hats. All five of them could fight Lero Ro and they would come out at a loss. The only person who possesses even the chance of beating Arenka at this point in the story, just so that you understand something, in him is already the power of an emperor. He has the power to rule the tower. It is already dormant within him. If someone stepped on him hard enough, the emperor would come out. And that would be a devastating blow. He would get a massive power up instantly. No thorns, no extra crazy powers. That is what would happen. And then we get Lero Ro shouting at Anak. He was disappointed at the fact that she wasn't controlling herself properly. And she proposes a bet for the next part of the competition with the Green April and the Black March. and the bet is if Balm's team doesn't win the crown game, she gets the Black March, because other than this, she's going to kill him and take the Black March by force when nobody is around. And that's the only option open to him. Balm thinks instantly that he doesn't want to be a burden to his teammates, and his teammates basically scream in saying, what you waiting for, take it. This lizard doesn't know she's about to lose her green April to you. Now, here is the reality behind it. Khun is a absolute genius. Had he done this here, Balm would have passed effortlessly, and on top of that there, when it comes to the next part of this entire story, Balm would have been another monster that they would have had to look out for. Had it not been for the interference of Han Sang-yu in the way that he interfered, had it not been for the test that Hidon is playing on Rachel, most probably Balm would have clocked this test and he would have already been accepted to the next floor. The three who were passing from here would have been Balm, Khun, and Rak, those three. Rachel would have been absolutely useless and trying her best to learn something to keep up with them, and we know that Khun would have found a way to cheat and get her to go up with them. So she would have passed nonetheless if she had not had the task from Hidon. So they added the new rule for this special match, and there was one other thing to the rule. If Balm wins, Anak wasn't allowed to attack him or steal the weapons from him, so he would have both weapons, and she wouldn't be able to take it back from him no matter what. It would be enforced by Liraro himself, and he's a bit too powerful for Anak to actually face. Then she finally sees Ender Rossi, who basically calls her out as being a liar. Hut stops her from attacking the next room, and they end up walking away to their room, with the whole statement being that she's no longer a team with them. And Balm apologizes to the others at this point about the fact that he got them caught up in this here. And Khun explains that he thinks Balm is pretty amazing to have stood up to that lizard, because everybody was scared of her. And frankly, they were surprised that he did it, because he doesn't seem to have the power to do it. All he did was call a bluff. And then he explained that he learned from Rachel, never betray others, because if you betray others, the ceiling of the world will fall down on you. And there he said he won't betray anybody, and he promised it to that person when he learned it. This encourages Khun greater in his heart, because he was always told not to trust anybody, and this boy does the exact opposite. He trusts and gives his trust to everybody else. And then they stab at Balm a little bit. The fact is that he doesn't have enough power to protect the Black March, which means that what he did was just a pure bluff. And as he says, hearing what you said, that makes me wonder why I did it. And Khun takes a slap at the crocodile. At least you're more useful to the crocodile. Only thing that's good about him is his size. But then it continues on, and he still says that you are still pretty amazing. And they start walking out into the next round of the game. The next round has 4 teams come in, or 3 teams. I think it's 4, I'm not 100% sure. But this is where chapter 20 ends, and that is where this episode ends. Now, here are some things to note before we end this. I don't want to pass the 30-minute mark for these. It's one of the other things. I don't want to give you an hour-long recap of 10 chapters. It's insane. At this rate, it's just going to be 53 of these videos. So one whole day worth of videos for you to watch if you want to catch up with the story. The beauty of everything that's happened in the Crown game up to this point, it gives us a little hint that there's so much of power to be had, and the difference between people's powers is like night and day. As powerful as you are, there's always something more scary around the corner. That's what they're trying to emphasize to everybody when it comes to this section of the tower. We don't get the hint that Han Sang-yu is there as the big fish trying to gobble up this monster who is even bigger than you can imagine. And he's using a lure, and the lure is Rachel. And Rachel isn't actually a good lure, she's a poisonous lure that will knock him out so that the big fish can swallow him up and take him into Fug. So yeah, that's the reality behind this. And all of this is actually to just get him to join Fug in the end. I hope that you all did enjoy this video, and I will catch you all in the next Tower of God video. See you then and have a good day.